Welcome back to Triple Alpha Sports Talk. I'm Josh. That's Bryce, and that's Roy over there. Episode 16. We got three more football teams for you, and we're gonna do the NL East in baseball. But before we do that, we're promoting the channel again a little bit. We got a giveaway for you guys. Bryce is gonna talk about.
Yeah, the giveaway, it's on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Basically, the rules are you have to be following whatever the social media page you're on is, whether it's the Instagram or the TikTok. You have to also go follow the YouTube and then like and comment which one of the 4 baseball cards that you want if you were to be the winner. We'll be picking those winners next podcast. So go to the social medias, like, follow. There's 4 cards. We have an Elly De La Cruz that's pretty sweet. A Kirby Puckett Twins card. Tristan McKenzie with a piece of his jersey in it.
The Kirby Puckett has a piece of his bat as well in it.
Yes, and then a Starling Marte Mets card.
And numbered to 299.
Yeah, so 4 pretty cool cards. I personally would want to win the Elly De La Cruz. I think that's a sick card. So if you like and follow, comment which card you want. We'll be picking a winner next week.
Yep, going to be fun. I think it's going to take us right to our NFL breakdowns, boys. We're going to start off. All right, we're going to do the Tennessee Titans first. They have the first round pick, number 7, and then they have a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 7. So pretty standard, and then 1 late. This was a weird season for Tennessee. You know, Ryan Tannehill had been the guy for the last few years, and they insert Will Levis and bench Ryan Tannehill and basically say they're done with him about halfway through the season, maybe not even. We'll go over some stats. Ryan Tannehill ended up playing 10 games, threw 1,600 yards, 4 touchdowns and 7 picks, not very good. Will Levis, basically the same amount of time in 9 games, 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks. And I would say most people in the industry said Will Levis looked pretty good in Tennessee. Derrick Henry, lead back, played the full season, 1,100 yards, 4 yards a carry, 12 touchdowns, And then receiving, it was really just DeAndre Hopkins. Outside of that, it was 500 yards and less pretty much the rest of the way. It was kind of a weird situation with the quarterbacks. And then Derrick Henry was still Derrick Henry, but, you know, they didn't feed him as much. Their backup, Tajon Spears, got 100 carries, which is unlike a Tennessee offense with Derrick Henry in the backfield. I think, you know, just look at those stats. Bryce, what did you look and see out of the Tennessee Titans this year from that?
Yeah, the Titans, obviously, like, Ryan Tannehill was injured, so it wasn't going to be like a push for the playoffs type season to me once he went down. But Will Levis, he stepped up really well, I thought. You know, he kind of fell late in the draft. They didn't know what people thought he was going to. So he ended up at Tennessee, and they're in the perfect spot to rebuild around this guy. I know that they went and got DeAndre Hopkins to try and be competitive, but really he worked as a perfect blanket for Will Levis to grow in the NFL this year. You know, we see rookie quarterbacks struggle because they don't have that blanket of a veteran receiver, but someone like Hopkins, he can make any quarterback look good. So Will Levis went out and played. You know, he's got that swagger to him playing. He's what Nashville needs to become a competitive team and build around a quarterback. So I think they found their guy. Obviously, the record sucks, but you're moving on to a better future, in my opinion. You know, I don't think Derrick Henry's going to be back. I think he wants to go win a championship somewhere like the Ravens or something. And he's old, man. We didn't see a lot of the games. He didn't look like the old Derrick Henry. He had 12 touchdowns this year, but a lot of those came off of big games. Like, I think he had a 3-touchdown game this year, didn't he?
He might have. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's older than Todd Gurley. And when's the last time we talked about him?
3 years, 4 years.
Yeah. So I see this team going through a pretty big rebuild coming up here soon, but an exciting one, in my opinion.
How about you, Roy? What do you think of the Titans this season?
Well, I mean, the Titans, their team just did not have enough players on it. I mean, they're just their skill players are just not as good. I mean, Derrick Henry is a great running back, but he's getting there in age. I mean, he's 30 years old now, and they're not going to re-sign him. So they're going to have to start rebuilding, like Bryce said. I mean, they're in a weak division, so they're in a position where they could. I mean, they got $85 million in cap space, where they could go get some free agents. They could do some good drafting, move up and down where they need and get players that they needed to improve, and they'd still make the playoffs next year just because they're in that division is not really, other than maybe Houston's on the rise. I mean, Colts don't fit. I mean, it's nobody like stands out that's going to dominate every year. But I mean, You guys are a big Will Levis fan. I am not. I think he's okay. I don't think he's anything that's going to be flashy. He's going to help him to win multiple, go deep into playoffs or anything. I don't think he's that skilled to do that. But they have to get a running back. I mean, this draft is they're going to have to get open their offensive line. I mean, their offense was 28th this year, total offense. I mean, that's pathetic. With the best running back in NFL football with Henry, he's going to be gone. So now you're going to have to go get a running back at some point. Get a running back. Your offensive line was kind of weak this year, kind of off, and he had some injuries, I know. But Titans have always been known for their running back and their pass blocking when they needed it, because that's just what they've done. Now they got a new coach, so new philosophy is going to change some things. Their defense was still 17th. I mean, they need some back end help and another pass rusher, because that's just what they struggled with this year. And when you got a quarterback like CJ Stroud, you're going to see twice. Trevor Lawrence, you're going to have to get some pass rushers in there. So they're going to have to get somebody like that to improve. This whole draft and this offseason, they've got to get. I think they need another wide receiver opposite DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is 31. So I mean, you got Treylon Burks he was the other guy, but it didn't do much for me. No. I mean, there's guys out there they could go with. I mean, you got Mike Evans out there. Calvin Ridley probably could be somebody that goes there, but they need somebody off of that. But they're in the draft. They've got to get a O-line and running backs to help them immediately. And then, I'm still think if you go, I still think you draft a quarterback somewhere around the 5th, 6th round. So,
I do agree with you, Roy. That they sit with the number 7 slot. I could see that being an edge rusher, maybe one of the top ones on the board. Also being a tackle. Did you guys hear that echo?
Yeah, it was.
I agree. Tackle or D end at 7, I think could be a good. To me, I think they are going to take that step back. I really do think, like kind of how you said, Roy, they do have $85 million, and they could go out there and spend it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see them doing it. Derrick Henry is gone. He basically had a farewell tour in his last game. Yeah. Grabbed a mic at the stadium. I mean, he's gone. Ryan Tannehill's gone, so they'll lose the contract. That's good for them. That's why they have so much money. I think I don't know Hopkins' contract. I could see him being an off-season trade. I really could see this team really stepping back, especially with the emergence of Houston looking like probably the team of the future in that division. With Jacksonville, what were Jacksonville? 7-3, 7-2, halfway through, and then completely collapsed. I mean, Jacksonville still, in my mind, is much ahead of them. So I could see them taking a couple steps back here. To me, the Titans, I mean, they ran the ball so well during those playoff runs for like 2 or 3 years. But Derrick Henry's gotten older. I mean, you can't give the ball to him 300 times a season. I mean, he's just not going to hold up. Their impending free agents are Derrick Henry, who I believe is gone, Ryan Tannehill, who is gone, and then the rest are really not anybody, that you're crazy worried about. You have a couple guys on the back end, and he changed his name. I know him as Sean Murphy Bunting, but Sean Bunting, and then Christian Fulton, another good, decent corner. You can replace those guys in the draft. I think they need to rebuild, in my opinion. But they do have $85 million, which you never know. I mean, you go and add 2 or 3 stars from free agency, and you might have a different view of this team. So,
the new coach will have his own. I mean, this is not a Mike Vrabel team. It's going to be exactly. I think that's why they're going to be changing some philosophy things.
I do agree, and so that in that reason, I do think this team probably takes that step back and struggles again next year and gets a high pick. I don't really have anything other than Titans.
I thought that what I saw them as drafting, you guys said lineman or defense. I thought this would be a perfect spot for Brock Bowers to go to if he gets to the number 7 spot.
If they still had their coach Vrabel, I could maybe see it because they've used their tight ends, especially in the run game because they run with Henry. But now with the new coach, I don't know this guy's philosophy well enough that I don't know if you would take the chance on a tight end. You could. I mean, people in the industry value Bowers very highly.
I think that's not the 7. They'll pick a offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. That's where I think they'll get. They'll go for one of the edge rusher or that because they're going to try to. Yeah. I mean, you got to start up front with the help of your quarterback, or you got to go after the other team's quarterback.
Who's the defensive end Turner from Bama? I could see being a fit here. I could also see the tackle from Penn State. What starts with an O? Yeah. Bryce, you have the list.
What is it? Fashanu.
Fashanu. That's
and then you got Joe Alt, Notre Dame.
Yeah, I could see Joe Alt being off the board by 7, but yeah, I mean, I mean, there's so many different routes, especially with 85 million. You could go so many different routes. I mean,
But they could, yeah, with the 85 million, you could go after a Josh Allen defensive
Yeah.
end or a free agent. I mean, a Chase Young's a free agent. I mean, you got some other guys
Yeah.
that they could probably go out.
so
Now, I don't know
Kool-Aid
if they want to
from
go.
Alabama.
If
True.
they want to go, if they want to go that flashy or not. It just depends on
Yeah.
what the coach wants to do.
yeah, I think that's all we got for Tennessee. I think that's going to take us to Atlanta, and this was a weird team in my opinion. I watched Atlanta a lot of the season, having Bijan as my running back in fantasy, so I watched a lot of their games. They finished 7-10 last season. One of their losses being to the Panthers. That was a horrific game. Just had to say that.
What was it, like 6-3?
Yeah, something like that. But their picks, they got number 8, and then they have a 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have 2 3s. Pretty standard, but they have an extra third in there from something. Again, and you're going to find this a lot that we talk about over these teams. A lot of QB, not great QB play, and multiple QBs playing, so it's hard to gauge like one guy when he only plays like 10 games. But in this case, Desmond Ridder played 15 games, 2,800 yards, 12 touchdowns, 12 picks. I think he had about 44 fumbles. I mean, I might be exaggerating, but he fumbled every time he had the ball. Those aren't in there. Taylor Heineke, he only played 5 games. He ended up getting hurt, so that's why Ridder came back in. 890 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. On the run game, Bijan Robinson played the whole season, 214 carries, almost 1,000 yards, 4.5 a carry, and 4 touchdowns. And Algier, who was basically a split back behind him, they split the carries, had 600 yards, 3.7 a carry, 4 touchdowns as well. Drake London had a decent year, but under 1,000 yards. No one had more than 4 touchdowns. I mean, Bijan Robinson led their team in touchdowns. Getting the ball to the receivers and tight end was a struggle for this team. They very much ran the ball or threw picks or fumbled. I mean, it's really what they did. Roy, I'll lead you off. With the Falcons, especially in a weak division, the chance was there to win this division, and they couldn't capitalize. So what were your takeaways from this team?
Well, this is, another organization with a new coach. They have the difference between them and the Titans is that Atlanta is set on the offensive side. To do something better, or on the defensive side to do something better. They were 11th in defense in total defense. Their defense was pretty good. What hurt them on offense. They have a running back. I think Robinson's easy to tell that he's going to be their top running back. He's going to be one of the better ones in the league. You got. I thought Drake London made a great. For having a bad quarterback right there, did a great job as a receiver. And then you got Kyle Pitts as a tight end, one of the best tight ends in the league. They got to get a quarterback. They've got to get a quarterback at some point. I mean, Desmond Ridder did not show me anything this year. Maybe with a new coach, we'll get something different out of him. But they've got to get some offensive protection to help Robinson run the ball and to help the quarterback. And they got to get themselves a quarterback to battle with Desmond Ridder. Taylor Heineke is not going to be that guy. So you got to have somebody. You don't have to do a first-round pick for him, but maybe second round. Get a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix, that's somebody who's older, who's, that could at least compete, that has been around, that could do something to come back or at least compete, maybe improve that offense. Because that offense was ranked 17th with good players on that side. So, and then like you said, the weak division, so that that team can make a big jump. They were right there the whole way this year, and then they have a chance that can be in the playoffs next year with just a few more players. They have 32 million in cap space, so they could add some pieces to help themselves. So,
how about you, Bryce? What do you think of the Falcons this season?
Yeah, Roy hit it on the nose. They have just studs all over their offense. Just everybody. They don't really lack at many skill positions on the offense, in my opinion. The quarterback is the biggest issue here. They didn't have anybody who could play, and you see a lot of ties of them getting Justin Fields in this offseason. I don't see that. In my opinion, I see them going. What I think they should do is they should trade up and try and get Caleb Williams or Drake May, because this team is ready and they've got the pieces around to make a rookie quarterback look phenomenal. And I think if you got all these young guys growing growing their careers with Caleb Williams and Caleb Williams growing their careers with them, that's a star-studded team for the next 10 years.
Okay, I just want to ask you a question in this case, because last year we saw the Panthers go from 9-1, take Bryce Young, and we saw the package they gave up to the Bears. In this case, Atlanta has 8, similar spot, 8 to 9, similar. What kind of package would they have to give up in order to move up? You're looking at easily number 8 and a 1 next year. But they don't want to give up those young players.
I don't think that
Probably.
they'll have to give up a player. I think that they can do it with just straight picks. The number 1 or a number 8, their number 1 next year, and maybe a number 2 or 3.
See,
And I think
yeah.
that they can make it then.
I think it would cost more, but in that case, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem what you're going to run into with trading up like that is you got a new young coach, and I
Yep.
just don't.
Yeah.
I don't see them and they got a GM that I don't think they're going to move up and do something like that. I think they're going to stay where they're at and take a pick. I just don't.
Coaches
I mean, I
like
think-
their own quarterback.
I agree. I think if you got Caleb Williams or Drake May up there, that'd be a better improvement on their quarterback. I just don't see them doing that just because it just with the new coach. I just think he's going to try. I don't think they're going to try to salvage the future picks to try to give away those for just one player that might just screw.
Yeah.
Because you see it too often that they get a new coach in there and we got to go get this quarterback and then or this one player and then you screw the future and then they're good for about 2 years and then they just screw because they didn't have any young players. All these guys contracts came up and they had to let them go.
Yeah. Oh, you can go back. I just was curious in that take.
Yeah, I mean that's I see that as the biggest fit in my opinion. Defensively, I think that they weren't like a horrible defensive team, but I could definitely see them with their pick they currently have taking a defensive player.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the players that would probably be going off the board offensively there. I think that they already have those positions filled pretty
Yeah.
well. So lineman or defensive player at their position they have now, and then they have some free agents coming up, but none of them really look like the big names that you would think of whenever you think of the Falcons. So I don't think that they have a big issue there.
Yeah, I can go over their impending free agents real quick. They have Cordell Patterson, who is technically listed as a running back, but he can kind of do it all.
Who barely played this year.
Yeah. Jeff Okudah, who actually started to play pretty decent after his trade from Detroit a few years ago, and Calais Campbell, who's 37, who still actually played pretty well. He's been in the league forever, but he still does offer solid contributions. So don't take that too lightly. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Or
Not really.
Yeah, I kind of like the position that they're in. I do agree with you, Roy. I don't think they're at the point where they should sell it all for a quarterback. Now, in Bryce's scenario where you only offer a first this year and next year and maybe like a second, I don't think that's enough for the Bears to go down to 8, so I don't think it would happen. But if that was the price, then I wouldn't hate it. But I don't think that's the price, so I think it would cost like 2 firsts, Drake London, and someone else, and I just don't think the Falcons would do that. They do get the Rams D coordinator, Morrison or something like that, as their head coach, defensive guy. I do think they will go defense. They've gone offense the last 3 drafts, I feel like, early. I do think they go defense. I think they go D-line. I really like Dallas Turner from Alabama. But they can go any route on defense, in my opinion. I think it's pretty clear that Arthur Smith, their old head coach, did not like Bijan Robinson because every time Bijan Robinson caught the football or had the football in his hands, it's electric. And guess what he did in the next play? He gave it to Tyler Algier. I mean, Bijan Robinson should not be splitting carries 214 to 186. It just shouldn't happen. He was a top 10 pick for a reason. He needs to have the ball 200 to 250 times a season, without a doubt. I think next year it will not be a split backfield. I think it will be Bijan Robinson's backfield, with Algier maybe coming in goal line. That I could see more often. Desmond Ridder is not the guy. You guys both nailed it. And I think they could use a receiver. Defensively, like you said, Roy, they were good, but they could still improve. I don't think they were great on the D line. I thought their back end was good, but they could really use a guy up front, especially losing Calais Campbell possibly. In free agency, I personally would not go for it, going up to number 1. I have a fit that I don't know would go there because I don't know if he wants to leave the team that he was just on, but I think Kirk Cousins would be a great fit in Atlanta. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to hit his receivers. All you have to do is pay him for 1 or 2 years. You wouldn't have to give him a 10-year deal.
he's got a big contract he's on right now, though.
Well, he's a free agent.
I know.
So
to match what I think he's going to be wanting a lot more money than what the Falcons.
I think he'll want a lot of money, but I don't think
Yeah.
he'll get what he wants. I think he's gonna.
Yeah.
I think he likes what he's doing in Minnesota.
I do
He'll
too.
take a cheaper contract.
Yeah.
He's not going to get his all the
And that's
guaranteed
why
money they got last time.
That's why I don't think he actually will leave, because I think he wants to come back to Minnesota. But that doesn't mean that Minnesota wants him back, per se. They might have different options. But I just think fit-wise, I think it's a great fit, because he's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to hit the open receiver, and then he can turn around and give it to Bijan Robinson as many times as he needs to. So I like the fit. I'm not saying it'll work out. But somebody like that, somebody that isn't going to make the mistakes. I mean, that's what hurt this team, and that's why they didn't make the playoffs. They would have been in instead of Tampa Bay if they didn't turn the ball over so much. But they turned it over almost every drive. I mean, it's hard to win football games, turn the ball over. We know that. I don't have anything else. I mean, they have $35 million, and they don't really have a whole lot of free agents they need to bring back. Another free agent who, again, I don't know if he would come in, but Mike Evans. I mean, you put Mike Evans outside of, Drake London. I mean, that's as good as a 1-2 punch as you're going to find with only paying Drake London on a rookie deal. I mean, Mike Evans isn't going to get a 6-year deal at receiver. He's going to get a 3 or 4. It's about the time you'd have to pay Drake London. So, I like, things like that. But
I think we all are in agreement so that there will be a new quarterback in
Yeah.
Atlanta next year.
there will be a new quarterback in Atlanta next year, I believe. I think that's really all I have for Atlanta. I mean, they could go a few different routes, but, I mean, their needs are pretty clear, in my opinion. That's going to take us to the Chicago Bears. This one, we're going to go pretty in-depth on this one. This is Bryce's favorite team, as you couldn't tell already. Go 7-10 last year. They own the first pick of the draft thanks to the Carolina Panthers. This is not their pick, but they will own it. Number 1-1. They will own the number 9 pick, which is their pick. They do not own a second in trading it to Washington for the Montez Sweat trade. They own a 3, 4, 4, and 5. So very front-loaded, but you'd much rather be front-loaded than back-loaded.
Yeah.
Justin Fields. I'll let Bryce go over these stats. It's his team. I'll let him talk about the stats.
Justin Fields played 13 games, 61% completion with 2,500 yards. He had a 16-9 ratio. And then Tyson Bagent played 5 games with just under 900 passing yards. We had a lot of different rushers this year. Justin Fields being our lead rusher for 2 years in a row, 657 yards. And then Khalil Herbert only played 12 games with 611. Dante Foreman stepped up in the games that he played with Johnson and Herbert out. 9 games, 425 yards. Roshan Johnson, 352 yards. Receiving, it was a DJ Moore show. He had 136 targets, 96 receptions, and played 17 games. Had 1,364 yards, 8 touchdowns on the season. I mean, the guy played unbelievable. Didn't make a Pro Bowl. Cole Kmet was the next guy on the team. I mean, Cole Kmet he's everything you can really ask for out of a line tight end. He catches the ball. He gets open. He's a good blocker. 719 yards. I mean, you can't ask much more out of a tight end, really. Darnell Mooney, horrible season. Not going to be back on the team. And then the rest receiving, it's just kind of not there, really.
If I'm a Bears fan, I'm calling Amon-Ra St. Brown and saying, hey, can you teach your brother how to play football?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
one of them looks like an athlete. The other one is like skin and bones, Slenderman running out there.
I just had to say that. Every time I see that, I laugh. I go, man, how is he so bad compared to his brother? Like,
I know.
night and day.
They have a lot of free agents this year. There was reports today, actually, that they've been working on a deal to sign Jalen Johnson. So he will probably be back. Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair are both gone. That's 2 veterans that you free up a ton of cap space for. And the cap space also just got boosted for every team. So I don't think they'll have any problem signing Jalen Johnson to a big contract. He was the best corner in the league this year. I mean, just look at the stats. He had the best stats out of every corner in the entire league. If you're going to say pick sixes, okay. That's the only thing.
Drum Bland, baby.
Yeah, they're on playing. Got cooked by Mike Evans. Worse than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Didn't even play Mike Evans this year.
Yes, he did. Who was it that was cooking them?
DK
DK Metcalf. That's who I meant to say. We got 80 million in cap space, so that's cool. What else do you guys want to go
Is that
over?
all,
About
all right, Roy, you want to go first or you want me to?
I don't care. I got plenty on this. Like,
All
whatever.
right, go ahead, Roy. Let it rip.
All right. So
What do you think?
So this is what the Bears were 7-9 this year.
Yeah.
They with 80 million in cap space, they have a lot. They could improve a lot because they need a running back. You need another wide receiver, and you need help with the offensive line, and I think you need help in the defensive line. I think you need all that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Montez Sweat, but you need somebody to go with it, an edge rusher or somebody to go with it. So, I mean, I think the Bears should stick with Justin Fields. I mean, I think it's stupid to try to redo
I
it.
literally can't even believe you just said that.
I can't either. I really can't.
Because I think it'd be as much as I love watching the Bears suck, it's just fun for me. But if you're smart, if you're the Bears, you have 80 million thing. You should go out there. You want somebody opposite of DJ Moore, pay fucking Mike Evans or Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
Go get one of those two on the upper side.
I agree.
All right. Draft a running back or or get a free agent. You got room for free agency.
I think free agency should be the running back and the draft should be receiver, in my opinion.
Well,
I agree with that.
But you could also do a defensive line where you could go get Chris Jones or
I have seen
an edge rusher like Josh Allen. I mean, you got options there. But what you got to do is trade that first pick. I mean, you cannot hold on to that first pick and do anything. Trade it, go down, get multiple picks, and get a first round pick, and get more things so you can go get offensive line help. So you can maybe get a running back in the second or third round. That'll be at least because you got Khalil Herbert. He's not a great running back, but you need you need an explosive running back. And I don't know who's a running back that's out there that could be that explosive for you.
This is a stacked free agent running back. There's Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. Those are the two that
Austin Eckler.
Those
are the three. Tony Pollard's going to hit.
You're talking about Austin Eckler, who I think is is out of age. I think he's not.
Well,
he's not
just someone who's been a Pro Bowler.
I know,
but
if you got Saquon Barkley, I mean, I could see Saquon Barkley, but I just don't see him going to Chicago.
I've seen Saquon Barkley tied with Chicago for 2 years, but I think he's just so injury prone. And I mean, Josh Jacobs had injuries too, but I think that Josh Jacobs is the better fit in Chicago with Khalil Herbert duo. And Roschon Johnson. I mean, he's our power back. That guy hits unreal. That's why he gets.
I know, but you need the explosive guy that's going to take it to the house. You need that guy.
Roy, what do you think? Okay, so you're saying that you think stick with Fields, trade one, and those two go together. That makes sense. What do you trade down to? Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking to go back 3 or 4 spots? You looking to go back 9 or 10 spots? And what are you doing at 9? Like, what do you want with those 2 picks in that regard?
With trading down, you trade with get the most picks you can possibly get. It doesn't matter where you go. For that, you're at a position where you can go anywhere in that draft to get what you need. At the 9 pick, you're going to get your offensive lineman or defensive back or your defensive player. That's where you're going to get somebody at number 9. You're not going to waste it on a running. I don't think there's really anybody in that running back or anything in that room. But you're going to first pick. You're going to trade down to get maximize as many picks as possible. I've been reading 5 picks, which I just can't believe someone give 5 picks. But you're talking but not getting players. So you want to maximize this year. Because this is where you need to start it with Fields, because this is about where you're going to have to decide that so you're going to have to maximize that by going to get as many picks as possible and using your free agency to get people to go around him.
Well, you're not hoping that Fields clicks. If you trade the number 1 pick this year, you're signing Fields to an extension this year
your hope. Then your decision is that he's the guy. I don't think
I agree.
I don't like Fields. But I think he's not. They've not used his potential.
I agree.
So.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
Is that all you got, Roy?
Yeah,
I love Fields, but I do agree that he has not been used.
I would say we're all in agreement in different ways. This team needs to go add a running back. I mean, that's pretty clear. I really do like the addition of Saquon Barkley, but any of them, Josh Jacobs, I mean, just anyone who can go out there and run the football is better than what they've had. Khalil Herbert's days are done, I think. Roschon Johnson would still be a good backup now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he's a good running back. Even Deontay Foreman being a third, if you have an injury go down, he's a great power back.
He's a free agent, though, and I don't see him getting re-signed, in my opinion.
But to me, and I have this, on the cap space because the Bears have so much money. They have $80 million in cap space. They can do whatever they want. Justin Fields' current valued market is $47 million a season. That's over half the cap space. To me, I like Fields. If there was no money involved, I'd say Justin Fields is your guy, and you don't even need to worry about it. But to me, at number one, that everybody values Caleb Williams so high. Even the Bears do. I know the Bears still value him high, even if they wouldn't pick him. You have to have a buyer to trade number one. So, I'll use an example. Let's say the Patriots call from 3, and they say, we'll give you our 1, so number 3, and I'll give you a second-round pick. Bears aren't moving. That's not enough. But what if no one wants to offer the price the Bears are offering or requesting? Then guess what? You're not moving because you don't have a buyer. So I don't think anyone's going to pay the price to move up with the Bears. I really don't. I think the Bears will stick and take Williams. I do. I don't think that they're going to find a buyer. Especially with this team, they have so much money. Don't waste it on one player right now. You don't know what this team looks like. You don't have the receiver outside of DJ Moore. You're probably going to draft one in this draft, I can guarantee it, or sign a big guy. In my opinion, they should move Justin Fields, save the money, take the rookie quarterback, and you're playing with the hope that Caleb Williams can be the best player in football, because he could be. Not saying he will, could be one of the worst, but he could be the best. I don't think Justin Fields can ever be the best player in football. I just don't. I do agree they haven't used him right. When he is your leading rusher 2 years in a row, that's a coaching issue. That's not a player issue. Justin Fields electric with the ball. But you're also on year 4, and you still are wondering these questions. You would probably have hoped 2 years ago that you'd be like, yeah, Justin Fields is the guy, and you're not wondering, do we take the quarterback? You'd be like, no, we're not. We have our guy. But you don't. You haven't said that yet. So me, I'm moving on from Justin Fields strictly due to money. If this was not money related, I'd be sticking with Fields. I agree. But money matters in the NFL. You have so much money, I wouldn't waste it on one guy. I just wouldn't.
I completely disagree. If you take the last 20 games of Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson, the current reigning MVP, the numbers are identical. So you're telling me you're trading a guy who puts up MVP level numbers in games where he's allowed to play, when doesn't have a shitty offensive coordinator making him throw a screen pass every other play, for a guy you've never seen play in the NFL and that crumbles against big teams in college.
To me, when I look at Justin Fields' stats and I see he played 13 games this season, that's not a full season, but it's over half. 2,500 yards and 9 picks with an average throw of 6.9. I'll contribute. All he did was throw screen passes this year. And you say he has a shitty offense coordinator. Offense coordinator got a job real quick. Didn't sit out a year. Offense coordinator in LA or in Vegas now. Didn't have a problem finding a job. So other people view him high.
That's because we had one of the number one rushing offenses in the league, and that's what the Raiders are going for. Whenever you see Justin Fields play, the guy throws the ball deep 4 times a game.
Yeah.
And the games where he's allowed to throw the ball deep, he has the number 1 deep ball accuracy in the entire league. Over Patrick Mahomes, over Josh Allen, over Joe Burrow. He has the number 1. That's a fact.
I mean, he's just not a caliber of player of those players.
I agree with Josh. I don't think he's that caliber.
To me, Justin Fields is great when the play is off script. When it's step back, not there, roll, go. One of the best and most electric players to watch in football. When it's 1, 2, 3 step throw, he's just not even a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And to me, I'm not paying $47 million a year to a quarterback. He's going to get more than that, in my opinion. That's his market value. You're 2 years away from paying him because he has to play this season. Then Dak's going to get extended this year. It's going to raise the money. Guess what? Once one quarterback breaks the record, they keep doing it. Not saying Fields would break the record, but it's going to value him up a little bit more. To me, I'm just not paying him $50 million when I know Caleb Williams will reset it at $22 million. It's half the price, and you have the potential. Caleb Williams is a running quarterback as well. It's not like he's a Peyton Manning sit in the pocket throw, and that's it. He can run too. You can still do those plays with Justin Fields with Caleb Williams. That's just my opinion.
You're saying you can still do those plays, but he hasn't done that in the NFL. You can't say that he can do all this stuff in the NFL when he hasn't done it. You're going completely off potential when you have a guy who has potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the league next year compared to a rookie who's never played and crumbles in big games.
I mean, you can say he crumbles in big games. He won a Heisman Trophy as a sophomore with barely playing as a freshman at Oklahoma when he transferred. So to tell me that, and he also has never been eligible to play in the NFL. The guy can't help it that can't play in the NFL yet.
All right, you want to go through Heisman Trophy winners for quarterbacks and see how many of them have panned out to be the greatest quarterbacks of all time?
Well, one of the last ones was named Joe Burrow, and I think he turned out pretty damn good.
Baker Mayfield, Johnny
He's doing pretty
Manziel.
well.
Johnny Manziel wasn't a number one overall pick.
Yeah, but he has the same type of height.
Let me say, Justin Fields is not. He needs a lot of work still. That's the problem.
Yes.
I mean, in 4 years, they have not given him the tools to do what he needs to do in the NFL.
Correct.
He's had a new coach every year.
I'm not saying that. I just think that's the problem with Justin Fields right now. He just has not proved that he can do.
Yeah,
and I think he has the capability. The problem is the Bears organization has screwed him over, and that's what's the scary part is that you're in year 4 and you have not got him to where he needs to be.
You have question marks still,
and that's not on him. That's on the organization itself.
And I agree,
and that they have screwed him over. Now the question is, do you move on from him? I don't think they should because I just don't think I'm not a believer in Caleb Williams. I'm not a believer in Drake May. I'm not a believer in those guys. I'm not a believer in Justin Fields. I just think he right now for the Bears is the best option they have.
You guys haven't watched the Bears for the last 20 years do the same thing every 3 to 4 years. We fire our coach, draft a quarterback, get rid of the quarterback, get a new coach, get a new quarterback, fire them both, and repeat the process every single time. The only one that stayed since the last time we went to the Super Bowl, I mean, Rex Grossman wasn't even on the team that long. Jay Cutler's been on the team longer than anybody I can think of in the past.
But then you guys turned on him the moment he got hurt. I mean, that's
Jay Cutler?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was turned on Jay Cutler the entire time he was on the team.
I haven't watched. I've watched the Bears for over 30 years because they are around here for some freaking reason. I have to watch them. But, they have struggled to find a quarterback, and it's because of the organization. It has nothing to do with.
They're not developing him. It's not always the player at all times.
They get one like Jay Cutler, who was successful, but then he got hurt in that playoff game. I was at a bar watching the game with a bunch of Bears fans who were burning his jersey because he got hurt and left the game.
I remember that.
They gave up on him, and then immediately he got hurt the next year.
That's what Bears fans do. They give up on quarterbacks every 4 years.
That's your organization. That's the organization doing it.
I know.
And I'm not saying give up on Justin Fields. I'm just saying Justin Fields is not ready to take this team to the next level.
Correct.
And
I agree.
On the organization. That's not on him.
Yeah. Okay, Bryce, I have a question for you. Let's say the Bears trade back a few spots. The trade doesn't matter. You trade back, you stick with Fields. You have to pay Justin Fields next season. You have to extend him. Let's say they extend him for $55 million. That is over half your cap space. That team cannot add a Mike Evans and I'll use this as an example because of the timing matches, Micah Parsons. They can't add 2 to 3 superstars on max deals like that. Versus if you kept Caleb Williams, I'll just use that as an example, who only would cost about 20-something million. Maybe by the time he gets drafted, it's 30, but I don't even think it'd be in the 30s. I think it'd be in the 20s. You still have 60 million. You can go out and get those other players. I'll say Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb, somebody that is considered a true number one. Even in my eyes, DJ Moore is a true number one. So you could have 2 of them. Why do you want to handcuff yourself signing Fields when it's possible? Nobody knows. It's possible that Caleb Williams could be better or the same. It could be the same player. But I'm talking about the money situation. Because to me, that's why if I'm the Bears, I'm moving on. It's money. It's not the player.
See, I don't think they need the money. I think it's the picks they need because I think they need more than just a quarterback. I mean, they need to develop Justin Fields, but they need an offensive line. They don't give Fields time to do anything.
Well, if you take Caleb Williams,
they got more holes to fill.
I agree.
I think you can pay that money and get more picks instead. And that would lower and that help you for the future because they're not. I mean, it's gonna be tough for them to win that division. Because the Packers are as good as they are every year, and Detroit's improved. Minnesota, if they get Kirk Cousins back, I mean, it's just going to be so to be the better. They need these picks and say,
I agree,
salary cap, and just keep Justin Fields. I mean, because Caleb Williams is not going to let you win next year. That's the thing. That's the problem.
You don't see it's CJ Stroud's a rare thing. You don't see a lot of teams that go out and get a bunch of people and then have a rookie quarterback take them into the playoffs.
Are you anticipating the Bears making their run like starting next season?
The next 2 seasons, I think, are the years
Is their
for the
window?
Bears to win. Yes,
I think you're wrong.
I think
But-
if you add a running back, draft a lineman, and add one more receiver, and an edge rusher, this becomes an elite team.
I think it makes it a good team.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say an elite team. I'd make it a good team.
I
Well,
mean, we
that'll
had one of the top
improve-
defenses in
that'll
the league
improve
for the
them.
second half
Yeah.
of the season.
That don't prove the difference between Houston and Bears are Houston had a bunch of pieces around CJ Stroud to make him good. And that's
Yeah,
what's
I
hurt-
agree.
That's what's hurts Justin Fields. There, you got GJ Moore, but you had nobody else to throw to who could get open. And then
Yeah.
you have no running back. You got a running back who'll get you 3 yards, but he's not going to take it to the house. You don't have you hand it off, and you're like, man, will he take it to the house? No, the only person who
No.
can take it to the house is Justin
Breakaway
Fields.
speed.
So there's just
Yeah.
and the offensive line just wasn't there. So like I said, there's just too many holes. And they could I think that's why you need to draft. Just I wouldn't say you're ready for next year. I say you're looking at Justin Fields for that second contract and saying, hey, I need these picks for the second contract here, and then extend it and look for the future that way.
I don't view the Bears window starting next season. I view it starting in like 2 years. Like not next season, the year after possibly starting.
That's what I was just saying. They'll be good this year, and then the year after that'll be.
But that's when you pay Fields.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, we just disagree, which is fine. I mean, everybody has their own view. We're going to find out because I have a hard time believing that they would take Williams and keep Fields. I just don't think that would happen. It could, but I would be shocked.
You can't keep both of them. There's no way.
I agree. I don't think you can either. So we're going to get our answer. I mean, the draft's late April, so we got like 2 months. So, I mean, something's going to have to give before the draft. If you trade the number 1 pick, I'd be shocked if it's a draft night trade. That's too valuable of a pick to just make it on the spot unless, someone gets desperate. That's probably a planned one like it was last year where they planned to trade it and they did it, a month before the draft or so. So I think we'll get our answers, but I don't think we have anything else. You guys?
No.
Think that's going to take us to baseball. Or Bryce, I'll let you lead us off with the Nationals.
Gotta get there. All right, the Nationals. They had a 71-91 record and missed the playoffs, but they don't have any losses this year, and they signed Joey Gallo, Dylan Floro, and Juan Yepes. Their projected starters are C.J. Abrams, Lane Thomas, Joey Gallo, how do you say that? Meneses, Jesse Walker, Kelbert Ruiz, I think that's how you say it. Nick Senzel, Luis Garcia Jr., and Victor Robles. Starting pitchers, starting pitchers, Josiah Gray, Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, Patrick Corbin, and Trevor Williams.
I'll lead it off with you, Roy. The Nationals, I mean, ever since they've traded Juan Soto, they've been pretty bad. After that World Series run they went on. What do you think about this season? I mean, they have so many young players in there.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're a young team. I don't think they're talented at all. That's the problem.
Wow.
I don't. Other than C.J. Abrams, I think the rest of them they got some guys who still need to get better. That need to explore. I think they're a lot like the Pittsburgh Pirates, a lot of young kids, but I don't think they have the talent that the Pittsburgh has. So I think you're looking at a team that's going to struggle this year in a tough division. And their starting rotation is just not. I mean, they're young guys other than Patrick Corbin. They're just young guys who just can't. I mean, it's going to be a building year. Another building year that they're going to struggle this year.
Yeah. How about you, Bryce? What do you think of the Nationals?
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think that they don't have like any of their stars really. You just don't see any of those guys that are like playing baseball to get into the World Series. This organization, they had a good team a few years ago. They just don't seem like they have like that winning culture there anymore to me. So
yeah. They've traded their superstars. The C.J. Abrams has to take that next step into being more than just a singles guy in stolen bases. He's got to hit those doubles and get a little bit bigger. Keibert Ruiz, their catcher, is actually a pretty good catcher. He finished last year 4th most fantasy points in fantasy baseball. I know fantasy baseball doesn't always react to who's the best catcher because it's all offensive, but he's a good hitting catcher. He's one of the better ones already, and he's so young. They need their two starters, Josiah Gray and Mackenzie Gore, who they've gotten in a Max Scherzer deal and in the Juan Soto deal. Those two have got to take that next leap. That, to me, those two guys, Gore and Gray, are pivotal into making them turn a corner. If those two turn out to be like busts and they just can't work at the major league level, this is going to be one of those rebuilds that takes a lot longer. But if you can get two of those guys, because those guys are first round picks, top 10 prospects when they were prospects. Those two guys were dealt for Juan Soto and Max Scherzer, and Max Scherzer was in his prime going to the Dodgers at that point. Those two have got to turn out. They have nothing in the bullpen. They add Joey Gallo and Dylan Florio.
They get the biggest strikeout guy in Joey Gallo.
Yeah. They're just, I mean, it's like the Pirates. We said they're just hoping someone has a good year. I mean, they did add Jeimer Candelario last year on a 1-year deal. Had a really good year, flipped into the Cubs. I don't know what they got, but something like that. It's all you're hoping for Joey Gallo. That or he's going to strike out 400 times. But they need those young players because these young players are a little bit different than the Pirates. The Pirates' young players, they haven't really hit the major leagues yet. You're just kind of hoping they get their feet wet. These guys, Abrams, Gore, and Gray, and even Kyber Reeves, even though he's kind of made a mark, these guys have been up for a year. They need to take this next step. But outside of that, they don't have a lot. Fun fact, I threw it in here. I don't know if you guys have heard the news about Steven Strasburg. He retired.
Yeah.
And the Nationals said, they would pay him his contract. The Nationals then said, actually, never mind. You need to come back. So he is unretired, and they said that they'll pay him if he coaches in some capacity. And he said no. So he's currently reporting to spring training, unable to pitch because he has no arm.
Yeah.
So fun little thing. Fun story, Brian. That's why I put him in there because I would have forgot. But
he's going to chill.
So Steven Strasburg is unretired. He is now a National again. Fun fact.
Hang out in the dugout.
Yeah, he's just chilling right now. So, and he can't throw a baseball. So, that'll take a. What's that?
Oh, a pitcher.
Hey,
Can't throw a
I know. Hey, bet you finishes with a 0 ERA. That'll take us on to the New York Mets, who they went 75 and 87. They lose Daniel Vogelbach, but really not that much of a loss. He goes to Toronto.
Danny fucking Bug.
I know. I threw him in there for Bryce. I knew Bryce would get a laugh out of that.
I love that guy.
He loves that guy. Their key additions are basically the shit Yankees, Luis Severino, Harrison Bader, and then they do get Sean Manaea and Jorge Lopez. Projected lineup of Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Frankie Lindor, Pete Alonso, Starling Marte, DJ Stewart, Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, and Harrison Bader. Pitching staff, this is where things get ugly. Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea, Adrian Hauser, Tyler Meagle. They do get Edwin Diaz back from tearing his ACL in the World Baseball Classic after one of the best closer years the year prior. Adam Ottavino, and then after that, it kind of falls off with a lot of 1-year deals. I'll go first on the Mets. The Mets spent unbelievable amounts of money, and it did not work out last year, and they had to deal Scherzer and Verlander, and they're still paying them, by the way. They're playing for free on their new teams. The New York Mets are paying all of them, but they did get some good prospects back. I know the deal that sent Scherzer to the Rangers, they got Ronald Acuna Jr.'s little brother, who's like a shortstop, I think. But identical swing. But to me, the Mets lineup is still fairly good. I mean, Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, Alonso. I mean, they're going to put up some runs. Beatty and Alvarez are young, but the pitching staff is where it really just falls off. I don't think they're trying to compete this year. That's why they moved all those pieces last year. So I think they're just hoping for a lot of those young guys to take a step up and maybe get Severino or someone else like that to have a decent year and try to flip them because I don't think they're long-term options. How about you guys?
I agree. Their pitching staff is absolutely horrible. When your fourth starter is Luis Severino, who we've, as Yankee fans, have seen him do.
He's a beast.
Jack squat the last couple of years.
Poor guy got hurt. Poor guy got hurt celebrating that he threw a clean inning his first game back and got tore his something. I don't know. It was bad.
The only bright spot they have is Edwin Diaz. I mean, and he is a hell of a closer. But the problem is he's not going to get a chance to close many games this year because they're not going to be able to win. That lineup is a home run first, strikeout second. I mean, actually, strikeout first, hit home run second. Basically, is what they do. I mean, you look. I mean, Pete Alonso, he'll hit about 30 home runs, but he'll strike out 300 times. I mean, That's what that's what's the problem with this lineup. They don't have anybody. They tried to do exactly what the Yankees did, get a bunch of home run hitters. But the problem was these guys can hit home runs, but they strike out way more than any of the Yankees did, and that was the problem. They were trying to mirror what the Yankees were doing. Now they got Harrison Bader, who I think they're going to try to. He's a streaky hitter. That's all he is. Good defensive player, just a streaky hitter. And he's not consistent. And that's the problem with this team. They're not consistent, and they're not going to be very good this year. They're going to be about where they were last year, and maybe a little worse because their pitching staff's worse than it was last year. So other than Chaminade, he may come back and be a better pitcher than he was. He struggled a little bit last year, but I just don't see this team doing much this year.
Yeah. How about you, Bryce?
Yeah, the strikeouts is obviously an issue. I mean, looking at the lineup, it doesn't look like a bad lineup to me. Like, they have a lot of really good hitters, but the issue is how much all of them strike out. And all of them being on the same team, it becomes an issue of their lineup. Any one of those guys would be a great fit anywhere. I've seen talks of them trading Alonso. I don't know if anything's going to come of that.
I can see it at the deadline.
Yeah.
If they're really bad, I could see it.
They're going to try to flip some of these guys.
Yeah.
I saw the ties with the Cubs. The Cubs need that big home run hitter.
Yeah.
I saw Pete Alonso be a spot. I think
Actually,
he would fit
pretty
there
good fit.
Yeah, I think he would fit there great. But they just have so many that strike out together, and then they don't have any pitchers. So if they're not just blasting 10 home runs a game, they're not winning ball games. They just sell at the deadline because they can't play. Edwin Diaz coming back. He was really good, but you never know when players come back from an injury for that long if they're going to be that caliber of a player again. And Luis Severino, he might be the best player in the league this year. And, coming away from the Yankees, he's going to be top dog in that.
He can't get worse, so I'm sure he's going to be a little better.
So I don't see them being any better than they were last year. I think that they'll probably be worse because I do see them starting to flip pieces and try and go through a rebuild because they spent so much money.
The only thing that I will say about the Mets is, some of these teams that get worse and they move pieces at the deadline and all that, they will spend as much money as it takes with that new owner. That's going to be a quick turnaround. I promise you that. They'll probably take a year off. Like, I could see them not moving Pete Alonso and then just paying him whatever he wants. That team, once some of those big free agents hit, they're going to spend some money. So, especially once they get done paying Scherzer and Verlander after this season.
I just can't wait to see players start getting flipped and just see the Frank the Tank videos of screaming about it.
Anytime Frank the Tank's not happy, I'm happy because I hate that.
That'd be awesome.
See the hockey game the other day?
Yeah, that was awesome. I don't think we have anything else on the Mets, and we'll save our picks for rankings after we get done. That'll take us to the Marlins. They go 84-78. They do surprise a little bit last year. They make the playoffs and they lose in the wild card. Their key losses, they got David Robertson from the Mets late, and they lose and he went to the Texans.
Yeah,
Rangers. Well, I see Tex, and I think Texans. And then they lose Jorge Soler recently to the San Francisco Giants. Their key additions, they do sign Tim Anderson. They do sign Trey Mancini and the Rays catcher last year, Christian Bethancourt. Their lineup looks like Luis Ariz, Tim Anderson, Josh Bell, Jake Berger, Jazz Chisholm, Ryan De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, Avisail Garcia, and Nick Fortes with Bethancourt on the bench. Pitching rotation has Jesus Luzardo, Yuri Perez, Braxton Garrett, Edward Cabrera, Trevor Rogers. Sandy Alcantara will miss the entire season with Tommy John, former Cy Young winner. And then their bullpen has Tanner Scott, and it has A.J. Puck in here. I have been told today that A.J. Puck is being transformed back to a starter, so he will not be in their bullpen. Anthony Bendar and Ryan Weathers, and I don't know if you guys know who Sixto Sanchez is, do you?
Sixto Sanchez.
You guys know who Sixto Sanchez is?
No.
He was a top prospect for the Marlins as a starting pitcher. He reported to camp 75 pounds overweight.
Wow.
Yeah.
He is huge. He was a twig, and he honestly looks like prime Pablo Sandoval. Like, that's what he looks like. Like, God, I don't know what to say about him, but that's for another story. This team surprised. I'll go first on this one. This team surprised a lot of people last year. Their lineup to me doesn't look very good. They have a couple streaky hitters. Tim Anderson's 30, played horrible last year. I mean, you just can't expect
Got knocked out.
a lot. I mean, Luis Ariz might bat 400, but with 400 singles, guy can hit the ball, like put the bat on the ball better than anyone I've ever seen. They lack a lot of power. Jake Berger's got some power, but you kind of hope Jazz Chisholm bounces back from an injury-riddled season. But I will give the Marlins this. They have the best potential rotation, and it's not everybody that I include. I'm talking prospects as well. They have the best potential starting pitching rotation in baseball. I mean, Jesus Luzardo's 26, and he had a good year last year. Yuri Perez looked unhittable last year when healthy. He's 20 years old. Braxton Garrett's 26. Edward Cabrera's 25. And they have a Max Mayer, who's coming off Tommy John, who is a top 3 pick in the draft. He's only 22. And they have Sandy Alcantara coming off Tommy John, who will be back next season. So they have a lot of young starting pitchers. But, man, they have I don't know what they're doing offensively. They don't go out and sign anybody. Why they didn't go after Jorge Soler, who's a perfect fit on this team at DH, in my opinion, I don't know. But for the Marlins, I think they're going to struggle this year. I don't see the offense being very good. But you got to hope that those young pitchers really take that next step, because if they do, that team can look very scary quickly if you have all those young starter pitchers.
See, I think I like this team. They're built around their pitching staff, and that's what they did. They went out and they got nothing but great pitchers. When they traded people, they got good pitchers. That's all they did. They went out and just made sure their farm system was full of pitchers and great pitchers. Not like it was anything. And they've done a great job of just manufacturing good pitching. And then they play the small ball. That's what they do. They're not going to give up runs, and they're going to score maybe 1 or 2 runs and win a 2-1 ball game. I mean, I was down. We went and watched them against Tampa Bay the last summer, and it was freaking. I think the final score was 3-2 or something, and it was actually Berger hit a home run. And that was the only thing the only runs they had. But they had great pitching. They only gave up a couple runs. I like the Tim Anderson. I don't think he's washed up as everybody thinks he is. I think he'll fit in with a lot of young kids. He's not expected to be, and the White Sox was just a bunch of prima donna assholes, and that's what the problem is. I think if he can come in and just be the leader of that clubhouse and do something and just fit in with some of these young guys. I mean, I love Luis Arraez. I wish he would Ariza. Whatever. I would love for him to be a Yankee. I mean, at least we got somebody who'd hit the ball, get him on base, and let Judge hit him in. But I think Chisholm will have a great year this year. I think he'll bounce back. They got some Trey Mancini. I think he's just gonna be a replacement and a DH. But I think
killer Trey Mancini.
I know, but I think
kill Yankees for a long time.
I really think this team will be right where they're at this year. I think they're talented, kind of like the Reds, but just not as talented as the Reds. I think they don't, but they have better pitching, and I think this pitching will carry them to the playoffs this year. If they can add something at the deadline to make them a little more potent on offense, they're a scary team. So I like this team, and I think they're going to be around the same time, the same way they were last year.
Yeah, I just think that they lost. I think what they lost was better than what they got back. Tim Anderson, Trey Mancini, and Christian Bethancourt. Those are all like older players, but I do like that they're veterans that they're bringing in for some of their young players, like Luis Ariz. Tim Anderson, to me, he's a question mark because he could have a bounce back season playing in Miami. He's been in White Sox Chicago forever. That's a horrible place to play. If you've ever been to that neighborhood, everything there is boarded up and like you feel like you're just gonna die driving through the area. You go down to Miami, he could have a whole new bounce back. Start playing better again.
Outside Chicago.
Yes, you are. If anybody's been there, comment down below. I mean,
I've been down there plenty of times. Nothing's ever even happened.
It's a scary place. It's like
a train from downtown Chicago to that place. It's not even that bad.
When was that?
Would have been 5-6 years ago when Lauren and I went. So
Trump was in office.
Oh Jesus, here we go.
Yeah, I like a lot of their young players. I think that they're hoping that they show out a little bit more this year to improve their record from last year. But they could add a piece sometime and really add a star into this young lineup. But they're definitely going to be relying on their pitching, like you guys said. So I do see them being about the same as they were last year.
Name to watch for, and I kind of said it earlier when I talked the pitching staff that you won't see, and I don't know if he'll start the year there. He could, but he's coming off Tommy John. He missed all last season. He's a rookie ball player. His name's Max Mayer. Just when he hits the big leagues and you hear his name, just know that I told you he was going to be really good. He was a top 3 pick, top 10 prospect in all of baseball. Gets called up, pitched like 4 innings, got Tommy John. It's not very uncommon for young players these days. At least he got it out early. I think they'll send him in AAA to start, but I'm telling you, wait till he hits. He's going to be a good player for a long time.
Is this the guy you got your baseball card on?
Yes, because I'm big on
why
it.
he says it.
No, that's why I got the baseball card. I bought it. All right, I think that's going to take us to the Phillies, the most unbelievable team when it comes to getting hot at the right time, I feel like. The Philadelphia Phillies finished last season 90-72. They lost in the NLCS to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They went through as a wild card team and did beat the one-seeded Braves. Their key losses, they lose their closer last year, Craig Kimbrell, to Baltimore. They lose Michael Lorenzen, who's still a free agent, and they lose Rhys Hoskins to Milwaukee. Their only key addition is Whit Merrifield. It's actually the only name that I really knew of the additions. The rest were like almost I've never heard of. So it's really just Whit Merrifield. Their lineup looks like Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, who's the now full-time first baseman. He has left the outfield. Nick Castellanos, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, JT Realmuto, Brandon Marsh, and Jonathan Rojas. With Stubbs, Sosa, Whit Merrifield, and Christian Pache on the bench. Two-headed monster at the top of the rotation in Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Ranger Suarez, Tyjon Walker, and Christopher Sanchez. With a bullpen of Jose Alvarado, who will move into the closer spot. Gregory Soto, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and the rest I kind of don't know very well. And Matt Strahm. Forgot about him. Roy, I'll let you start off with the Phillies. What do you think of the Phillies this coming season?
I like the Phillies. Like you say, they get hot, but they got talent. I mean, that's the difference. They've got some talent in their line. I mean, when you got Bryce Harper and you got I like Alec Bohm, I like Bryson Stott, Trey Turner. Trey Turner seems to be on any team that wins. He finds a way to get on, get hits when they need it. Nick Castellanos or whatever his name is. I like it. What is it?
Castellanos,
whatever. And then your boy Kyle Schwarber is still on that team. This team, I saw this team play last year in Philly. Love Philly. I thought my favorite stadium I've been to so far. I love it. I love that stadium.
Haven't you been to Yankee Stadium?
Don't get me started on Yankee Stadium. Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, that's a great one-two punch. Their problem is the rest of that rotation. I think they'll get you some wins, but I don't know if they're the guys that can get you that third punch. I think Craig Kimbrell will be a bad loss for them in the closer position. That's what scares me. I think the pitching struggle this year early. They're the type of team that will make a push at the deadline for a good starter, and then and make another playoff run. They got too much talent up and down that lineup.
How about you, Bryce? What do you think of the Phillies?
I love the Phillies. I've said this before. They're like my second favorite team to the Cubs. There's so many players on their lineup that I like.
Hold on. They're your second favorite team beside the Cubs?
Yes, I've said that.
Man, that's tough to have the team in the same conference side.
I did not know that.
I love watching them in the playoffs.
Was it because
he does like Bryce Harper?
Bryce Harper, and then they have two former Cubs who were stars for the Cubs. So, and I like Trey Turner too. I think he's a great player as well. They have a lot of players that I like to watch. Even like at the end of their lineup, JT Realmuto's good. Brandon Marsh is good. The big beard, John Rojas, he's good. I don't know how to say his first name. Johan.
I don't know.
He's good. Craig Kimbrell, another former Cub,
is gone.
I think that's going to be a big issue for them. But they still have great players in the pitching area with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. I mean, that's aces, both aces on other teams. Gregory Soto in the bullpen, I mean, he's really good whenever he's playing good.
Alvarado.
Yeah, Jose Alvarado, he's really good as well. I think looking for one of their back end starting pitchers to step up this year and be a better team. I see them doing the same thing they've done the past 2 years. They're going to get into the playoffs and then they're going to get hot. Their players like to play into the postseason. So to me, this is like one of the most electrifying teams to watch, in my opinion. Nick Castellanos hits a home run every time someone dies, and the announcer says it.
I was going to say it when I go. Nick Castellanos, I don't know if you know this, Roy. Anytime there's a tragedy anywhere, Nick Castellanos homers the next at bat. It's crazy.
They'll be talking about a player just died, and then the announcer going, Nick Castellanos hits a home run.
Yeah,
and then
it's happened like 10 times in the last 3 years. It's like, the passing of the great somebody, and Nick Castellanos deep drive to right, 3-run home run, 3-0 Phillies. Every time. It's incredible.
No, I did not know that.
No, it's incredible.
I really like this team, though. I mean, you want to see them get it done. They've done it 2 years in a row. They got hot and they got close.
Yeah.
It would be awesome to see those guys just win together. It's so fun to watch.
I agree with you, Bryce. This team plays the same way every season, it feels like. It's the same formula. They start off slow because it's cold in April and nobody's ready yet. And the pitching always dominates early in a baseball season, and their pitchers do well, but their bats are quiet. It's just how it works. And then the summer months start to hit, it gets warm, and Bryce Harper's, the Kyle Schwarbers, they start getting hot. And this is as streaky of a team because when Bryce Harper's on, I can tell you, and you maybe can attest to this, Roy, since you said you've been there, that ballpark goes crazy when Bryce Harper and them get one out, and they feed off it. All these players they've been around. They're big game players. Trey Turner in the World Baseball Classic, game on line, hits a grand slam.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber, he's due to hit a big-time home run at any time. Bryce Harper is one of the best big-time at-bat players we've seen in the last 10 years. And
there's that iconic video of him walking out, bring Sally up, and then just nukes one.
So this team, they play. I think that's why they play so well. Once it gets late, they know because they always start out slow because they're not hot yet, and they start getting in that groove and they start feeling each other and they all feed off each other. And I think that's why this team plays like that late in the season. You hit it, Roy. Wheeler and Noel is a good 1-2 punches you're going to find in this league. They stay healthy. That's their number one thing. They pitch and they give you 200 innings a year. It's hard to do that in Major League Baseball these days. Their back end of the rotation does scare me. Michael Lorenzen was on this team last year. He's a free agent. He's a great signing. He pitched there last year and was fine. I think he could be a great 3 or 4. I still don't know why this team isn't interested in Blake Snell. I mean, could you imagine Blake Snell, Zach Wheeler, and Aaron Nola?
Yeah.
I mean, Philly's got no money problems. I'm sure they could spend the money. It doesn't say. I haven't seen their name rumored at all, but
I don't think Tajon Walker's all that bad. He's just kind of
no. But
he's okay. Yeah. He's not. He was good when he first got up and when he in Seattle, but he's not as good as he used to be.
But the only improvement lineup wise, I do like the addition of Whit Merrifield. Plays just like those guys. Could get a clutch hit late in the game. Not going to hit home runs. They could use another outfielder. Brandon Marsh and that Rojas guy are their left and center fielder. Especially now that Harper is no longer in the outfield. I could see an outfielder addition somewhere, maybe at a deadline. But yeah, I mean, this is just a good team. Kimbrel leaving will hurt them, I think, like in late game situations, because I mean he was their closer last year. But this is still a really good team, and I mean you're going to see them late into the season. And I think we just have one team left. That's going to be the Braves. Bryce, Bryce, talk about the Braves. I'm tired of talking.
So the Braves he just got prime all over me.
Sorry.
This is why they won't sponsor us.
Trying to get the last drops.
So 2023, the Braves had 104 and 58, and then lost in the wild card. I don't think they even won a game.
Nope. Maybe they did get swept. They lost to the Phillies. I know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't win a game. But their key losses are Kirby Yates, Colin McHugh, Eddie Rosario, Brad Hand, Vaughn Grissom. And their key additions are Ronaldo Lopez, Chris Sale, Jared Kelnick, and Aaron Bummer. Their projected starters is Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Marcelo Zuno, Michael Harris II, Sean Murphy, Jared Kelnick, Orlando Arcia. And pitching-wise, they have Spencer Strider, Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, Bryce Elder. And they have
Rysel Iglesias.
Rysel Iglesias, AJ Minter. I mean, nobody on this team speaks English.
Damn.
I don't.
That's funny.
But this team is just full of studs from top to bottom. I mean, they have so many good players, and they aren't paying most of them.
God, it's crazy.
I mean, Matt Olson was home run hitting last year. Austin Riley, home run hitting.
Matt Olson led the league in home runs last year.
And just everybody on their team is such a good player, but we see them get to the playoffs and not win. It could be because they're young, and as time goes on, they might get better about that and start winning into the postseason now that they've been there. I think this team is going to win 100 games again next year, no problem. I think the addition of Chris Sale, even though he hasn't, I don't think he really was as good as last year as what he has been in the past, but he's going to be at the back end of their lineup. They have Spencer Strider and Max Fried, who are unbelievable 1-2 punch, just like with the Phillies. I like watching this team a lot, even though they kind of knocked the Cubs out of the playoffs this year. And I see them doing the exact same thing they did last year. Maybe they'll get hot in the playoffs this year and make a run to the World Series.
Yeah. How about you, Roy? What do you think of the Braves?
Loaded. I mean, that's all you can just say. I mean, this team is talented. I mean, when you got Phillies have a good 1-2 punch, the Atlanta has probably the better 1-2 punch. I mean, Strider and Fried are amazing pitchers. I mean, they are two good young pitchers that can. I mean, they just can really take over games the way they pitch. I like Charlie Morton. I liked him when he was freaking in for the Tampa Rays, and then he went to Houston. He's always been a decent pitcher. People just don't underestimate him. He's a good pitcher. Their lineup is ridiculous. I mean, Matt Olson hit all his home runs. I mean, you got Acuna Jr. I mean, he is by far. I mean, he's just amazing. I mean, that guy is just a crazy talented player.
70-something stolen bases last season.
I mean, just all around player. That's incredible. Like their Jared Kelenic pickup. That guy can hit home runs. He's not much of a hit, average wise, but when in Seattle, he's always been a home run hitter, and he can kill that ball. And you put him in there with Matt Olson and Acuna Jr. and those guys. I mean, it's just all you've done is just improve that lineup and made him more dangerous. And he's young too, so that just makes things. Atlanta has drafted well over the years. They've done a great job of putting these players together, and I mean, they just somehow continue to improve every year, and they're going to win. Yeah, they're going to win over 100 games again this year. They're going to win more than they did last year because they get to play the Mets and they get to play the Washington Nationals a lot, and both those teams suck this year. So they're going to be able to win more games because they play those two teams. But I mean, they're more experienced. I agree. They struggle in the playoffs because they're young in situations. And Matt Olson, he might be older, but he hasn't got any. When he was in Oakland, got nothing out there, so he's still learning. They have improved. They just know how this team knows how to improve, how to do what to do, and they're scary good, and they're going to be good again this year.
Yeah, I agree. I would say on paper, top to bottom, it's the best lineup in baseball. I'd say the Dodgers have more firepower at the top, top loaded. They have Mookie, Freddie, and Shohei. But now you talk top to bottom. I mean, this is about as good as a roster as you're going to see in baseball. I mean, last year, I don't know what month it was. I don't think they lost. I think they were on a damn 30-game win streak. I mean, they looked on. I mean, you didn't think this team could even possibly lose. I think they just ran into a hot Philly team, and I think it hurt that Philly knew them because they play in the state division and they play them so often. So I think, they'd seen Strider so many times. I think that hurt Atlanta in that regard. Chris Sale coming over. You traded Vaughn Grissom, who's actually a good player, but they liked Orlando Arcia, so they didn't have any room for him. And typical Atlanta Brave, Chris Sale hit his spring training thing today, 2 innings, 6 strikeouts. All his pitches, top-tier velocity, back to being like 97. He's not down to 92. And his slider had more break than it ever has in his career, it said.
Typical.
Typical. Looked great.
Well, hey, I would rather him be doing that for the Atlanta Braves than the Red Sox. So I'm okay with it.
I agree. Jared Kelenic, I agree with you, right? It's a crazy good trade. I've read they plan to platoon him to face righties, and he crushes righties. The struggles have been against lefties. He can't hit a lefty. But if you're going to platoon him, I mean, what a place to bat him 8th in Atlanta. I mean,
Yeah.
it's as good as it gets. Ronald
Yeah.
Acuna Jr. is the best player in baseball. One-sided. I get Ohtani two-sided, but you're ridiculous. Ozzy Albies is quietly probably the second or third best second baseman who no one talks about because he's behind Ronald Acuna Jr. Austin Riley has emerged as the third baseman. And yeah, Bryce said it. They're paying him about $20 a game. All of them. I mean,
Yeah.
Ronald Acuna Jr. makes like $15 million a season. I mean, that's just absurd. Luis Severino is making that in New York this year. So just let you know. It's just incredible how they do it. Strider, Fried, Sale. I mean, this team is just we don't need to keep saying it. You guys nailed it.
Yep, they're good.
This team's stacked. I think that's just going to take us to our ranking projections. So, Bryce, I'm going to let you rock it first. What are your standing projections in the NL East this year?
I think it'll be identical to last year. I think it's at the bottom. We're going to see the Nationals and then the Mets. I think those teams are not going to be any good this year. I could even see the Mets maybe dropping below the Nationals. And then Marlins, Phillies, and Atlanta Braves.
So you have Nationals, Mets, Marlins, Phillies, Braves.
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Roy? What is your NL East predictions?
Mine's the same way. I got Washington
Oh.
winning 68 games. I got the Mets winning 72. I got the Marlins losing two games less. They're 82 and 82. I have the Phillies at 93 wins, and I have the Braves getting about 108 wins. I think they're that good, and I think they'll be that up there. I think 3 teams have possibly get in the playoffs in this league.
What'd you say?
I just said
I only have 2 teams making the playoffs in the division, and I do have it very slightly different. I do have the Nationals 4th. I do have the Marlins dropping to 4th. I just don't think they're going to hit, and I think the Mets lineup can hit. You'd never know if you could get a good pitcher out of the Mets, but I just think the Mets are a little bit better. I don't have them making the playoffs. And then I do have the Phillies at 2nd, and I do have the Braves at 1st. I mean, to me, it's almost impossible not to put the Braves at 1st. And then after that, you just never know.
So Roy has the Marlins making the playoffs, and
I
you
do.
don't even have them making top 3.
Correct. I have the Marlins in 4th.
Okay.
I just –
differing opinions.
yeah.
I think
I
that's a
don't
good
think they'll make the
division. I
playoffs,
just
but
don't.
I do think they'll be 3rd. So I'm kind of in the middle of you guys.
Yeah.
I just think that Central Division is not very good, and I think the West Division
Yeah.
is going to beat the hell of each other, and you're only going to get 2 teams out of
Yeah.
that one.
I mean, we're all pretty in agreement that we all think the Braves will finish 1st, the Phillies will finish 2nd, and the Nationals finish 5th. It's kind of a toss-up in the middle. Usually how it works in baseball divisions, those middle teams, you could always take that step up. You could always take that step down. You just really never know for the middle.
Injuries
but-
will play
Exactly.
play in
They'll play. I don't think we have anything else baseball related.
No,
You guys-
I think that takes us to our end segments.
I guess we'll just hit with my
There was just a MLB trade alert on my phone, actually. Cubs deal left-handed pitcher Bailey Horn to White
Yeah.
Sox for minor league right-handed pitcher Matt Thompson.
Yeah, I saw it right before we went on, but
Trade open spots for Cody Bellinger.
Yeah. I never heard of the guy that they traded, so I didn't.
Never heard of him either.
Yeah. All right, I need a lock of the week.
Probably just the person they had to get rid of.
Yeah, lowest man on the 40 man.
40-man roster move.
Okay. All right, that's going to take us. Oh. All right, that is going to take us to our miscellaneous category where we're going to do Josh's lock, Bryce's game, and Roy's old man wisdom. We're going to rock with my lock of the week, and I'm going to keep it simple with you guys. Basketball's back. Spring training. Don't ever bet on spring training, for the love of God. If you do, you have a problem, call the hotline. I am going to do a basketball game for tomorrow at 7:10. I'm going to bet it live with you guys. I'm going to do the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're on the road in Chicago facing the Bulls. I'm going to take a -4, the Cavs, and I'm going to bet $25. It pays 47.72. Did it live, and we're live. All right, so
Do
next,
a PGA log for me one time, man.
I think I have a better chance of watching Bryce Harper hit 5 home runs in a spring training game and 3 at-bats than getting a golf bet right.
All right. That was true.
Just being honest.
All right, that takes me to my game of the week. We're going to keep sticking with baseball for a while. This one may or may not stump you guys on a few of them, but this is basically going to be stat leaders. So
Okay, I like that.
The first
All right, so
one
players.
is
Okay.
yes,
Of this past season?
no, of all time,
Oh shit.
Oh.
all-time stat leaders. The
Roy-
first one is most career home runs.
Career home runs, Barry Bonds.
I thought so, but
Is that your answer?
yeah, that's our answer.
That is correct. The next one is most career hits.
Pete Rose.
Yeah, I'd say if we're counting Pete Rose, yeah.
Pete Rose is the
Yes.
answer.
He's still the record holder, just not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I know, but some people won't value his records because of stuff like
But then
that.
some people don't count Barry Bonds as a
I
home
know.
run.
That's why I hesitated for a second.
The next one is most career Ks by a left-handed pitcher.
My
left.
instinct guess would be Randy Johnson, but Sandy Koufax was lefty, wasn't he, Roy?
Yeah, but I don't think I think it's either Randy Johnson or Walter. The guy. I'd say Randy
Walter Johnson?
Yeah, because he was lefty. Because he was the first. He
Who's your
pitched,
answer?
back in the day, they used to pitch like. They used to
Yeah,
have like
You're
80
right.
starts and stuff.
Who do you think it is?
Randy Johnson or him? I say Randy
Okay.
Johnson.
It is Randy Johnson. You guys are
Ooh.
correct on that.
Okay.
The next one is most career wins by a pitcher.
Oh, that's tough. It's got to be someone old.
I'm gonna say most wins. Shit.
It's
It's
gotta be
somebody
someone
old.
so
It's
old,
gonna be
yeah.
like Walter Johnson or Cy Young. What's Cy Young probably?
Yeah, let's go Cy Young.
Cy Young is the answer.
Oh, yeah.
He will probably. It's one of those records that will probably
Yeah.
never be broken.
I know. Those
I
old
mean,
guys.
like I said, back
an
then they
unbelievable
used to pitch like 3 times a week or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 times a week.
Pitching is all the records. All the pitching records are old, and sooner or later, all the hitting stats are going to be new because
Yeah.
that's how it's working. But
This is a tough one, in my opinion. Highest career OBP.
on base percentage, who
Yeah.
gets? Are
Barry
you talking
Bonds.
at the end of a career? Yeah, I would have to say Barry Bonds too. But
Is Barry Bonds your guys' answer?
I mean, you're telling me it was hard. There's no way it's Barry Bonds.
Is that your guys' answer?
We can guess Barry Bonds.
It is
I mean,
not
yeah,
Barry
but-
Bonds.
Okay, I have a question. Is the player still playing?
No. This is
Okay,
the old
then-
guy.
Then it's not who I thought.
Who did
You
think
said it
was?
wasn't Barry
I
Bonds.
thought it could be Juan Soto at the moment
Oh, okay.
because he walks 30% of the time. Old player on. I mean, is it Babe Ruth?
No.
Damn it! I don't know.
Plays for Boston.
Ted Williams.
It is Ted Williams.
Fuck, I knew that. I actually knew that.
I didn't think.
I don't know why I didn't think of that. I've read a stat and I said, of course, that's the only thing they're good at is getting on base and nothing else.
That was the last one I had. So
Well, we did pretty good.
We only
just
got one.
missed one, and then you ended up getting it after him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it didn't sound. I mean, that wasn't too bad. So,
No.
all right, it's my turn. My old man wisdom. With age comes skill. It's called multitasking. I can laugh, I can cough, I can sneeze, and I can pee, and I can fart all at the same time.
Sound like my dad, Roy. Dad says the same shit. Oh my god.
Hey, it's old man wisdom.
I think that's gonna do it for this week. I don't think we have anything else.
Yeah, remember, we're doing the giveaway, guys.
Yes.
Go like and follow, comment what card you want, and we'll be picking the winner next
And
week.
no matter what platform you see it on, Instagram or TikTok, you must be following our YouTube. The links
Yes.
are in the bios for both of them. Have to go subscribe. When we choose the winner on each platform, the first thing we will do is look to see if they're subscribed on YouTube. If you are not, you will not be eligible to get the card. So go hit the follow button and subscribe to YouTube. And good luck on your chances of winning the card.
Yep.
Peace out.
All right. See ya.
See ya.